Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifted Reality. My name is Minovate, and this is Season 2, Episode 25. So from finishing off our new Shepherd's build, we're just kind of expanding out, helping out my son with some of the terraforming around his start of a storage building. We're not too sure, just some random texturing blocks, get some different variety in there. And we're trying to looking around thinking about what it is that we can do. There's so many ideas. Some of the recent changes with leads and buildstone, part of me wants to come back to our shipyard here and maybe make like an animated crane system that's drawing a item back and forth over that. That'd be kind of cool. There's plenty of terraforming here. I mean, you can see we got some fresh tree farms up as we needed some, restock on our spruce wood. Always something going on. Our bee situation is questionable right now because apparently the pale oak, the eye blossom flowers, apparently those kill bees when they try and collect honey from them. So who knew on that? We know how to get rid of these excess torches and turn those around into some more decorative elements. And I think the biggest thing that I want to do is at certain points we have had enough villagers coming and going, walking about, that really made this village feel alive, but they keep getting killed by mobs at night when it starts getting dark because we don't have perfect spawn proofing yet. So I think I want to try and work on that so that it's a little bit easier to bring this village to life when we're not actively looking at a specific build such as the shepherds. Just adding in just some more houses and some more villagers that will just come and go and exchange their pleasantries, talk, do their rumor trading and all that kind of stuff. I think that's what we need more than anything else. And why do you keep not wanting to use, like, you were bound to that bed earlier, but now you nah, I don't need to sleep. You're a weird dude. But yeah, aside from the spots that are lit up by the torches that need some better infrastructure going on, you also have a bunch of areas that are just completely unhinged, untamed, which is not good for a village. I just realized my texture packs are broken. I'll have to fix that too. So yes, as you can see, still lots of danger that needs to be cleaned up and improved for the overall health of the village. Ah, no, you missed someone. We missed someone. So I mentioned in the last episode I wanted more access points along this side of the river just to get up to here, but the higher elevation between the top of the river wall and the naturally generated terrain is a bit more tricky to work with. And I didn't really think these watchtowers that are on the seaside really fit on the riverside. And so I wanted to do something a little different just to kind of give a new feedback, a new look to this side if you're coming up from this angle. And so what I did is it had this natural indent to begin with, and I've expanded it out into a full half circle, which I've now started to put in a staircase just so that you can get up from the boardwalk to the main level of the village from here. Allow me to create a kind of a different feel. And I only need to go up about 3 on this side. And I suppose I could go up the full 6 on this side. I want to start going up on this side just to see how it feels to go all the way up to that top level. So this is all just a work in progress. I'm just testing out some ideas of a inward curved staircase. I mixed up using slabs and actual stairs just to even out the ascent so it more or less matches the terrain. And as I got up here, just trying to keep it a little bit more of a gradual slope, it didn't quite reach the top. And rather than terraforming this down, I just made a curve and brought it this way, which is probably going to end up making a path that joins back up with our bridge over here. So that seems to be coming together right there. Let's make this daytime so we don't have any more creeper explosions. And I know I already commented that this is probably going to be a little bit of a infrastructure heavy episode, but unless if I want the entire thing about building up this staircase, I'm just going to cut off and get it done and come right back. Now look at the difference that makes. This looks so much more completed now that we have the full retaining wall up. And even working with the different heights, where this side here is higher than that side there, it all now is starting to look together, cohesive and complete. This is coming across quite nicely. Now let's get on to our building additions. One thing I did do that was a little differently is I took out the little stairs here, because ultimately I realized if I have to just turn and go up this direction anyway with some normal stairs, I might as well keep the two sides symmetrical, and that's what I did, and that looks a lot better. Sometimes asymmetry works, but sometimes symmetry is your best bet, and this was a case that symmetry was the way to go, definitely. Now, while I don't have any specific ideas yet for this building, other than, I just want to have some additional spots for villagers, and this one's not going to be, restricted to keep the villager inside, because I don't actually have any specific trades I need to fill in. I decided to start with this kind of little arch entrance for an underside, and I'm thinking it might be kind of nice to put in some little small horse pens down here, just because we do have a fair number of horses that we have just sitting around randomly, and it'd be nice to kind of be able to organize which ones are fast jumper or best runner or most health, and that will help us categorize them as we go to try and breed them for additional characteristics later. I know that's a task my daughter wants to do. But in order to accomplish that, we're going to need to have a upper level, which means we need to put in some stairs of some sort to take us up to that upper level. And originally I started putting them in right here where you can see the grass died a little bit from the blocks, and I went and removed that because it's following a similar stone structure as to what you have for this arch. But unfortunately, when I was looking at it from a distance and kind of comparing how it was coming out, it's looking here, it just really all just blended in with the retaining wall. So not only do I need something that deviates from that gray brick pattern, I need something that starkly contrasts against the gray brick pattern. So I'm kind of debating, what is the most stand out color that we can then come in at with this. I suppose, probably the bright brick of the resin, but no, I'm not making bright orange as my primary color pattern. So let me think about that a bit more. Now, gray itself does not actually have a contrast color in the traditional color theory sense, but it is said to be able to work well with multiple colors and take on more of a fusion of elements. So that's where we are going to attempt to start today. So let's go a little crazy with this cyan blue of the warped wood. I don't really work with warped wood too much, so this is a fairly new concept for me as I try and figure out how to make this work. And now the reason why I'm using stairs here is because I don't want it to connect to my wall. I want to keep that wall disconnected as a separate entity, and without any means of purpose driven changing that, I kind of have to just work with what I got. But up here we can go for a more solid block because, well, the wall doesn't come up this high. Now the two questions are, does that stand out more? Does it create its own unique profile? And the answer is definitely yes. The second question is, does it look good? And that I'm not sold on yet, but I do have an idea that might help make it look not so solid cyan block. So what we started with here was going with cyan, which is in the cooler spectrum, and now we're going to contrast that with dark oak, which is going to be in the quote warmer spectrum. There we go. That contrast of the dark oak fence gates makes it look a lot more completed and creates a rather unique texture pattern that will break up that, overall cyan block of the stairs. Now, I didn't really intend to do the mangrove wood and bone block like I did with the shepherd's house, but just being so close and semi-connected, as I was going through my supplies and trying to pick out what building blocks I needed to put on the house above the stables, it just felt right, and I kind of went with it. So this is where we're going. Oh, ick, that looks terrible. Why does that look like the Hugh Grant's Oompa Loompa from the musical Wonka and a minion had a baby? Oh my god, that's terrible. That idea did not work. Tear it down. Start again. There we go. That's looking a lot better. More about how I envisioned it. I just need to kind of shrink up a little bit of the things. I don't know, sometimes the solid blocks are just a little bit too wide to accomplish what you want, and you really need to switch to a wall block. And I forgot about the mudstone bricks. As for this guy, he is now working at the leather station in the horse stable. However, he has not yet taken a liking to the bed we put upstairs for him. So I don't know if I need to kind of block him in there until he decides he likes it or what, because as of right now, he runs pretty far away to sleep when it gets nighttime out. I don't know, maybe it won't be too big of a problem. There's not really much we really expect to get out of a leather worker, but we'll see. Now that we have our little horse stable / house set up, let's go back and take a look at our map. Well, it's been a while since we really compared our map and our progress that we're making, and you can really see how things are coming together. But this area right here is what I am catching at needs something to really finish it off. And I'm thinking let's continue with the theme of horses. Now this area isn't quite as perfectly suited for development as it might look like on our little map. So we're going to need to do some cleaning up here first. And mainly finally get rid of this chest and shulker monster, fill in this massive creeper hole, and prepare this whole area for something that is a bit more suitable for the village. Alright, now that I've cleared out the chest monster and filled in the creeper hole a little bit, it's time to get to work on utilizing this space or giving it a finished look. I am going to terraform it down a little bit, but what I really want is some of that icky brown mud looking stuff that forms with spruce trees. So we're going to grow a couple spruce trees, like the big double wide ones, to create that and collect that for our next use. Now that I have the space cleared out and leveled out and filled in quite a few creeper holes that were hidden underneath the top layer of soil, it's not quite as big as what the map makes it seem like, but I think we can still make use of the space for what we are thinking of. We just gotta figure out the exact size of everything. So I put out some white wool just so I could see in the map what the space actually looks like to be filled up. And it kind of creates a little bit different of a picture, but definitely makes it clear once you come back over here and take a good look. So while it looks like you could bring it more this way, I don't want to terraform any more of this to be flat. I like the little bit of a elevation and don't want to lose that. But I also don't really want to overextend any particular area. I could maybe bring it back here-ish a little bit if I'm not focusing on getting to the corners, which I might not be doing. So let me take a look at what the actual dimensions of this is and see what I want to do with it. Now I think at this point it should be pretty obvious what I'm working at doing. I started off with a precise circle right in the middle of the open field area, and then I elongated it out a little bit to fit in the most roundness I could get, and then brought it in along the ends to kind of give a little bit of a straightaway. Now this is not a quote horse racetrack. It is not nearly big enough to get a good test of a horse's speed or anything of that nature, but this is just to kind of give the idea, the illusion of a corral that would be used for training a horse. I wasn't really sure what to do with the inside of the track, so I just decided to decorate it with a little bit of a flower garden, using those sakura flowers and the new wildflowers. I really kind of like the look of all of the stuff, and the high row of roses in the middle. It feels complete, and I like that. I still need to go through a couple other parts of the first level of this, just to make sure there's no spawn points for mobs, because they are still popping up. It's mostly on the other side of the storage silo that my son is building and working on. But we did move most of our chest monster into there and got it somewhat organized, so that's progress there too. We got a lot done today, but there's still a lot to do. So until next week, this has been Minibate on Shifted Reality. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment about what you think of our little horse pen here. And until next week, have a good one. Bye, everybody.